Let me try this again. Hold on. Just give me a second. Okay. Yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want. Hello, everybody. What a way to start the show, switching from my computer microphone to the external microphone because I wasn't quite ready yet. That's the story of my week. I'm not quite ready yet. Is that the story of my life? I'm not quite ready yet. But here we are. That's what we have titled this episode. Here we are. And I wasn't planning for that to be such a great segue into the show today, but welcome everybody to One Question with Pastor Adam. And I am Adam, and I am pastor to believers and to doubters, to unfaithful Christians and to faithful atheists. It's good to be together. And Cliff, good afternoon to you. Is my voice sounding a little deeper today? Yeah. It's. I wish I could keep that deep resonance, the gravelly voice, but I am recovering from a cold, and here we are. That's what we do. Greetings to you, princess, and church family. Greetings to you. Here we are. So I don't got a whole lot for you today. I'm still recovering. I'm tired. I've got more day to do. I hope that you are feeling good and chipper on this day. Here we are, and I'm not ready, and that's life. So sometimes you are going to find yourself in situations where you're not ready, where you don't think that you're ready. But guess what? You've had a lifetime to get you ready, to prepare yourself for this. And we are in a situation in our culture where you're not going to be ready and your culture needs you. And whether you are ready or not, we need you. The culture needs you. And we need you to take care of yourself. We need you to take a step back every once in a while from all the crazy that's happening in our culture. We need you to do some self-care. And Karen, yeah, take care of yourself. Yeah, Pastor Adam. Thank you, Karen. Yeah, this is what I'm trying to say, Karen. This is what I'm trying to say. And yeah, Karen, yesterday during our Thursday conversation get together, I was talking about my Thursday evening activities, and Karen was very kindly saying, "Adam, take care of yourself." So, Karen, that's the message for today. We got to find ways to take care of ourselves in this crazy, chaotic time. Because ready or not, here we are, and I'm not ready. You're not ready for what's happening, but together we are going to get through this thing. And I was walking Mac earlier, Mac the dog, and just thinking about biblical stories. I'm reading through the book of Daniel right now, and Daniel is a book of political resistance throughout the Bible. You know, people who say the Bible is just about spirituality, where you go after you die, stuff like that, totally miss the mark. The Bible is about liberation, not just spiritual liberation, but also liberation from oppression, liberation from the forces of evil and darkness and scapegoating in our world. That's what the Bible and particularly Jesus are about. And I'm here to remind you of that. I'm here to cheerlead you. I think that's one of the main jobs of a pastor during this time is I'm here to cheerlead, to tell you that you are not crazy. The world is crazy, and we are in this together. Melanie, we're going to get through it. Hello to you. And that's where I'm at. That's where we are. So I don't have a whole lot for us today. Oh, I was going to tell you about Daniel. The king at the time makes these ordinances, and Daniel's like, nope, not doing that. The king wants everybody to worship him. Daniel's like, nope, not doing that. Now, here's where some people are going to take this story. oh, this is just about worshiping God. No, this is about a whole way of life. What what you worship, what we worship matters. If you start worshiping a king like the king wants Daniel to do, that's going to corrupt you. We are at a point in our culture where did you hear that the guy uh, put in a new political thing called you can tell that I'm recovering from a cold. For faith. Yeah, faith is now part of our politics. Like there's somebody in charge of faith in our country now because of this guy. It just came across like my news feed, so I haven't delved a whole lot into it like I should if I'm going to be talking about this. But there's like a new person that Trump put in charge of some department of faith, and we're in troubling times. Like this is Daniel saying to the king, "No, this isn't it." Um, the king, the political leader, should not be telling us how to worship in the United States. We have this thing called the separation of church and state, which protects the church from the state, protects the church from the state telling the church what it should be and what it should do. And like Daniel resisted the king, we need to resist these what this person is trying to implement. And that's part of the mission that we have. And here we are. We're working our way through it. Pam Bondi, The Depth of Faith, I believe. Is it Pam Bondi? Yeah. So Department of Faith. Yeah. Can you imagine that? How crazy the United States is getting when you have a Department of Faith. Yeah, going to be telling us what we should believe, what we should be doing. No, no, thank you. So um, that's anti-American. So here we are, and we're in it together. So yeah. So Daniel resisted the political leader of his day, and I was also thinking of Esther. You know, the great story of Esther, who went through something similar. And there's that great phrase that has been used so much by evangelicals that it may not. I don't know how it rings to your ears, but Esther is born into a culture where the king of Persia has a general who's the actual king. Uh, he's the Elon Musk of the story. And so the general Haman tells the king that he needs to kill all the Jewish people because the Jewish people are causing trouble. Are not worshiping the king. So the king goes along with it. Oh, okay. And tries to enact this plan, and Esther rises up and thwarts the plan. It's a fascinating story. Her uncle Mordecai is a mentor to her and says to Esther, "You were born for such a time as this." That's you. That's us. We were born for such a time as this. When we start hearing all of these stories, the craziness that's happening, and we dwell on it, I don't know about you, but I can start to feel very powerless. And when I'm around people, this has been happening to me when I'm around people who who constantly complain or who are living in despair, that gets to me and I start feeling in despair too. Now, there's a place for despair. There's a place for complaining about all of this. And I don't want to blame people for doing that. I have my moments of despair too. But here's the thing, be careful with despair because it will leave you feeling powerless, and you are not powerless. Like Esther was born for such a time as her time, you were born for such a time as this. Don't let the despair get you down. Don't let the despair make you feel powerless because you have power. We have power in this. All right. Power. One of the things that shows me that you have power is that you know something's wrong. That's power. The knowledge that something is wrong and that this what's happening isn't right. That's the first that's a big power move. That shows that you have power to know that things are messed up. And then what can we do together with it? There's a sense in which part of my powerlessness that I feel is that I think that I'm alone. That's what despair can do as well. Makes you think that you're alone. You're not alone. There are countless people doing things at this moment. Countless people who were also born for such a time as this, who are doing things. A lot of things are going unseen. There are a lot of people who are making plans legal plans to sue and slow things down, which is awesome. Uh, and there are legal plans to do more than just slow things down, but to stop things from happening. We need to be aware that people are doing good things in this situation and helping the situation. And on an individual level, we may be able to take some risks, but also as a church. The church was born for such a time as this. Together, we can do more than individually. We can make we can do more together, and that's my hope is that here at Clackamas United Church of Christ, and whatever church that you may or may not belong to, I should say it differently because there are a lot of good reasons to not go to church. If you have a good church that is doing is thinking in this way of ways that we can cause some good trouble, uh, that's awesome. If not, there are communities that you might be able to join to help make you feel like you're not alone in this. And so I would encourage you to seek those out during this time. Um, and there are a lot of good organizations doing protests. Those are good to go to and help us feel like we're not alone. And there are also organizations like immigration organizations, probably in your local area. We've got them here in Portland that you can Google and find and see if you can support those organizations. There are different levels of all these organizations, ways that you can support financially. You can show up to meetings and events and things. Also, don't don't devalue the incredible support that you can offer by sending a message, an email to organizations that are doing good work and saying thank you. A lot of times organizations feel like they're alone in this and that they're crying out into the wind. Don't neglect calling up an organization, a church that you see that's doing good work and just saying, "Hey, thanks. I see what you're doing." That's a big deal for these organizations too. A lot of people are saying, call your congressperson, call your senator, do those things as well. And also, any way you can support people, organizations that are doing stuff is good too. So that's a way that we can feel like we're uh, supporting people and not in this alone. So um, that's my 15 minutes that I got today. Am I going to post this on the actual podcast? I don't know. I'm tired. Hi, Angela. Karen, thank you. Good advice. Thank you. Carly, I have that verse all over my home. Good. Yeah. Carly, you were born for such a time as this. And so are all of you. Uh, Carly says, "Team together, everyone achieves more." That's good. That's good. I like it. Princess, I was always told to look for the helpers. There are a lot of helpers. Thank you to Fred Rogers, your friendly neighbor, Fred Rogers, for inviting us to look for the helpers out there doing good work. Yeah. Um, Linda, good to see you. Phelan, always good to see you. Glad that you are here. Hello to you. Melanie says, I'm pretty positive. I'm glad, Melanie. I'm glad. Yeah. Sean, is the ban for transgender care for children and adults both? I think it is. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I think that that's where they're going. So, yeah, somebody may be able to Google that and find. But yeah, Sean, I'm sure that that's it. Cliff says there's a lot of antichrist stuff happening too. So yeah, that the Department of Faith feels very antichrist to me. Like it was positioned what I heard him say, what I heard Trump say, is that this is going to be a way for Christians to not be persecuted anymore, to have this Department of Faith. Didn't say anything about any other religion, didn't say anything about Jews, didn't say anything about Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, all of whom are in the United States and Americans. It's just this focus on Christianity and Christians being persecuted. Give me a break. Give me a break. You know what the church is going to be persecuted for? Actually living out the principles of Christ and helping people who are being targeted. That's what this Department of Faith is going to go after. That's how Trump is going to say, "Oh, I'm going to stop Christians from being persecuted," while actually persecuting the church. Here we are. So, Sandra, Trans Active is a great organization my family worked with. Founder Jen Burleton, hopefully I'm saying Jen's name right, just started a newsletter to update the Portland area gender expansive community. As we head into this new era, my family accessed their support groups after my eldest came out years ago. So yeah, that's another Trans Active is a great organization. One small thing that you can do that will be big for Trans Active, the organization, is to send them a letter of support or an email, right? Is to say, hey, you're doing great work. We're on your side. And if that's all you do, that's good. For some of us, that's all the energy we have, and that's good energy to put out there to people doing this kind of work. It would be great to have a list of organizations. Yeah, Linda, let's work on that. We'll see if we can put a list of organizations out and write thank you cards to them. Yeah, we did that. There was a lot of people saying, write Bishop Buddy a thank you letter. I need to do that. I haven't done that yet. But that's definitely worth doing. Yeah. Yeah. Angela, when the whole wide world feels oh so wrong and nothing you do feels very right. There's a good chance that the world is what's wrong. So just keep reminding yourself that, especially during these times. Yeah. Angela is talking about wins. Yeah, a couple weeks ago, the podcast was, "Hey, celebrate your wins." That's especially important these days. Celebrate your wins. Celebrate. Um, so, Angela, we're going to do that. Angela's wins. Proud Boys defaulted on their $2.8 million judgment to the church they defaced, and now a portion of every item with their trademark goes to the church. Wow, I hadn't heard that. That's fantastic. That's a win. That's a win. Thank you, Phelan, for tagging Raylene. Yeah. So, Linda, I like the idea of coming up with a list of things, of organizations that we can send thank you cards to, thank you letters to, thank you emails to. That's great. I like that idea. We'll see if we can do that. And friends, that's all I got. That's all I got for you today. I'm gonna celebrate that we're here. Celebrate that you were born for such a time as this, and the little things you can do go a long, long way. Don't devalue the little things that we can do during this time. So, friends, I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'm gonna go home and take a nap. That feels like a win for me today. So, oh, that's good. Angela, I cannot begin to thank you all enough for this community. We can find comfort and encouragement in here. You are all blessings. Angela, you are a blessing. You are a blessing too. Sandra, just adding in the Trevor Project. Yep. Thank you. And HRC are both also great resources. Beautiful. Yeah. We at the church here support the Trevor Project. It's a big deal for us. So Sandra, thank you for that. Everyone who is able should do their best to acquaint themselves with accurate information about our trans and GE siblings. Phelan, it's okay to be angry right now or scared or running the gamut of emotions. This can be traumatizing. Yeah. Thank you for that, Phelan. Yeah. Whatever you are feeling, it's normal during this time. And if you're angry, you have a right to be angry. If you are scared, you have a right to be scared. And if you are running the gamut of emotions, you're not alone. That's normal. And what's not normal is the world right now. Cliff says, I delivered pizza to a very nice Spanish woman yesterday. She handed dollars to her young son and told him to give it to me and say, have a blessed day. Tanya, I'm going to go home and take a nap. That'll be my self-care for this afternoon. So, yeah. Angela, I am feeling better. It was not good. It was not good there for a while, but yeah. Thank you, Angela. Thank you. Phelan, may we all be lights surrounding the fog. You are a light to Phelan. Thank you. Cliff, there is hope for the future. There are people teaching their kids kindness and generosity. Yeah. I think that's one of the places where I find hope, is that there are people teaching their kids kindness and generosity. The hope that when you smile at a stranger, yeah, there's hope. You're smiling into the darkness, and not that the stranger is the darkness, but you're smiling and smiling into the darkness that says that we are supposed to hate our neighbors. Little things like that matter. They matter to your spirit. They matter to our cultural spirit. So, yeah, Tony, so much is unsettling. That's for sure. I was in a visiting with someone earlier today, and very new to Christianity, and just kind of asked, where are you coming from, Adam? Where are you coming from? And one of the things we talked about that I think is so crucial is just kind of the basics, which for me, we started talking about the creation story. And that whole story about humans being created in the image of God is so powerful to me, in part because in the ancient world, humans were not created in the image of God. It was the powerful leaders that were created in the image of God. But that creation story in Genesis universalizes it. And that's a big click forward in the human understanding and the human religion, to say that no, all people, even those at the time the Babylonians were the bad guys. The Babylonians were the ones who just came in, destroyed our people, sent us all out into slavery. And for that story to say, no, even the Babylonians are created in the image of God, that's a big deal. And primarily what that passage is getting at is that the marginalized are created in the image of God. Because before it was the powerful elite, the rich, the wealthy who are created in the image of God. No, everybody is. You, me, our trans siblings, our gay siblings, our lesbian siblings, our undocumented siblings. Everyone is created in the image of God. There's a Jewish theologian, Emmanuel Levinas, who put it like this: in the face of your neighbor, you find God. In the face of your neighbor. And for him, it meant that we have this deep ethical responsibility to our neighbor as our neighbor, because our neighbors, you and me, all of us, to be human, is to have the image of God. To see your neighbor's face, to see your own face, is to see the face of God. How that has to, once you realize, and that's such a basic part of what Christianity should be. Once you understand that, that should change our ethics, as Emmanuel Levinas says. That should change how we treat our fellow human beings, whether we label them as undocumented or not, whether our neighbors identify as LGBTQIA2 plus, black, brown, Asian, white. That matters. Closest that you get to the holy is the face of your neighbor. Angela, I do not understand how they can remove the intersex portion, knowing full well it's a natural occurrence produced with no human action. Yeah, that's their trying to say that only male and female. Yeah. Tanya, I'd like to think all life is the image of God. I like that. Yeah. There's certainly in Genesis that's the other thing, is the Genesis creation story. We miss how radical that story is and was for the ancient world. It was that story at the end of each day says, and creation was good. It was good. It was good. And when humans are created, it's very good. It's kind of human centric, unfortunately, but that doesn't mean that all other parts of creation aren't good. They are good. And it's written during a time when, I've talked about this before, but it's written during a time when the ancient Jewish people were destroyed, conquered by the Babylonian Empire and sent throughout the Babylonian Empire. And while there, they heard the Babylonian creation myth, which was basically the gods are all pissed off at each other. The mother god and the father god are being oppressive to the teenage gods, and the teenage gods are playing their music too loud, and the parent gods are annoyed. And so they go to war. And so Marduk, one of the teenage gods, ends up killing the mother god Tiamat and the father god. And out of the mother god's body, in the story, the mother god is the bad person. Is patriarchal awfulness in this story as well. But the mother god is seen as basically the embodiment of evil that needs to be destroyed and defeated. And so Marduk kills the mother god, and out of the evil body of the mother god, Marduk creates the world. So what does this tell you about the world? It tells you that the world is evil and there's nothing you can do about it. It's an evil world. And that story justifies oppression. It justifies killing our enemies the evil mother god has a general named What's the general's name? Anyway, the general is the evil general, and Marduk kills the evil general. And out of the blood of the general, he creates humans. What does this tell you about being human? You're evil. You like there's no way of getting around it. Like out of evil you were formed, and evil is just part of how the world is. Well, the ancient Jews come into this story and they're like, no. They say, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Well, that's boring. Where's the war between the gods? This is a peaceful creation account. The world is not meant to be evil. After each day of creation, it is good. Humans are fundamentally good. Long before you get anything like original sin, you have original blessing. You have original goodness. Maybe some of you need to hear that. I need to hear that. Original blessing, original goodness. It was Matthew Fox, great theologian who wrote the book Original Blessing, I think it's called. Yeah. And something went wrong. And here you have the story of the first humans, Adam and Eve. God tells them to not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And a lot of people think, oh, God's holding something back from them. And however you make sense of that is how you make sense of that. I guess that's fine. But the way that I make sense of it is, once you start eating the knowledge of good and evil, you think that you own it and you possess it and you get to start dividing the world up into who is good and who is evil. And that's a dangerous game to play because it starts to get you to be blind to the face of God and your neighbor because you've started to dehumanize your neighbor. And that's the danger of the knowledge of good and evil. And so they eat from the tree of the good of the knowledge of good and evil. And God comes to them and say, hey, what happened? Not accusing, nothing like that. But they've been caught. And Adam doesn't want to take the blame or the responsibility. So he blames Eve. And then Eve doesn't want to take the blame or responsibility and blames the serpent. And humans have been blaming one another ever since. This is not how it's supposed to be. Something went wrong. And the whole rest of the Bible is about how humans continue to accuse one another. And if you read the story, do you notice that Adam even accuses God for creating the woman? The whole rest of the Bible is how humans accuse God and accuse one another for the problems in the world. And sometimes the Bible reflects that and projects violence upon God. That's the accusation. Oh, God who was just good and created the world to be good has now turned against us. That's part of what the story of the Garden of Eden is getting at, is that once you eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, we end up seeing this God who has been benevolent and good and just wants to create a good world. Once we eat of the knowledge of good and evil, we think that we own that knowledge and we can start saying that God is evil and that humans are evil. And from then on, we're blind. We're blind to what is actually good and evil. Now, I'm not saying that good and evil don't exist. I'm saying that humans are responsible for it. We're responsible for it. The actions that are going around in our culture right now because of that guy are evil, need to be named. And also, those actions are evil. There's still, this is hard for me to say. There's still the face of God in that guy. Actions are evil. And I don't know, what's worked for me when I have fallen into the systems of accusations and have done things in my life that I haven't been proud of. What's worked for me, I don't know if this will work for him, but what's worked for me is for people to call that out and also do it in a way that reminds me and calls me into something better. Something that says that this is not the fullness of who you are and you can do better. Um, that's how I've learned. That's how I've grown. And so I don't know how to incorporate that into my life when I'm interacting with people who think radically differently than I do, but that's something that I'm going to try to be more intentional about. Not just calling out people, but calling people in. That's one of the keys I think that we're going to have. Justin, in dark times, the light will shine through. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it and cannot overcome it. Amen. Amen. There are no bad people, only bad choices, Angela. I like that. Even Trump is a child of God. His humanity has just been perverted. See, this is why I love you people. I'll say things and I'm like, I don't want to say this. And then you're like, no, that's right. That's right. And that's what I need in my life. That's the community aspect that I need. Because I'm like, I'm gonna say this. I don't like saying this. And that's the kind of support that I need. I'm imagining that's the kind of support that we are all going to need as we enter. It's only been 2 weeks. we got some more time dealing with this, which is why we need to do the self-care and also why we need one another to remind us of that we were born for such a time as this. And part of what this time needs is for people to be radical in not only our actions for justice, but also in our love, in our reminding us of ourselves, of the image of God in us, and also reminding others that the image of God is in them too. And calling in to living into that is one of the keys that I'm going to try to take in my life. And I need you to remind me to do that. Linda says, Princess, rehiring a racist staffer is evil. Yep. Happening now on EM Gang of Goons. Okay. Disgusting that this has headline news today. Yep. Cliff, perhaps God only hides what we can't understand because what we do with /to that which we don't understand, hate, obsessiveness, violence, etc. Yeah. Linda, and can I see the face of God in Trump? Tough thought. Well, that's the challenge. Maybe that's the Christian challenge. No one is beyond God's redemption. Cliff, thank you for that. And Phelan, 2 weeks in, and it feels like a year already. That's for sure. Coping mechanisms are important, Phelan. Yep. Tony, you have to look really hard and maybe squint a bit. Yes, do some squinting, but it's there. Self-care is crucial, Phelan says. It can be hard to turn away from politics at the moment, I understand. But I heard find a balance between being informed and maintaining your sanity. That's it. Finding that balance is a tricky one. I've noticed that when I start getting all riled up from the news that I am listening to, I listen to progressive news on YouTube. The Majority Report. Let's see. Trying to think of the other ones, but I'm sick, so I'm sorry. My brain isn't functioning right. Roland Martin is a good one. But anyway, yeah, once I start getting myself riled up, I know I need to take a step back. And sometimes getting riled up is good. But for me, that's part of my self-care. So Mitch, January was a really long year. That's right, Mitch. Good. Sandra, we must love our neighbors. We don't have to like them. At least that's what I tell myself when I'm feeling especially stubborn or frustrated. Yeah. You are to love your neighbor. I think what that means is, what does that mean? For Jesus, when he says love your neighbor, he takes it back to, oh my gosh, he takes it back to the Good Samaritan. That's in Luke, where Jesus says, somebody says, what's the law boil down to? And Jesus says, love God and love your neighbor as you love yourself. And somebody says, well, who's my neighbor? And then he tells the story of the Good Samaritan. There was, you may remember last week, JD Vance said that love, there are 4 tiers of love in Christianity. And your primary tier is to your family, to people like you, then to your nation, and then to other people, and it's in descending order. And so he was saying that in order to justify not sending aid to other countries. You know how the administration has stopped sending aid to places in Africa to stop AIDS and other diseases and stuff. That's their justification. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Gets that from a misreading of Augustine and Aquinas, and it's a gross misreading because Augustine and Aquinas would not have said, well, just because you're supposed to love your neighbor who's most immediate to you doesn't mean that you don't have responsibility to your other neighbors, who are on the other side of the world. Would never have said anything like that. We still have a responsibility to our neighbors, and the Good Samaritan shows that our neighbor can be the one who is like us and the one who is from a different country, and we still have a responsibility because Jesus says that's how you love your neighbor, is responsibility, taking responsibility for health and wellness of our neighbors. And yeah, Sandra, as you say, doesn't mean we have to like our neighbors. But love here, even if you think of love as an emotion, you can't command that. But love is an action. That's something that we can that we can do. We can control our actions and work for the common good for all people, including those that we disagree with. You know what? I've been reflecting on this. There have been a bunch of memes going around, and forgive me if this is coming off as holier than thou. I really don't mean it to, but there was this picture of this guy from somewhere in South America. I want to say Venezuela, and during the campaign, he's holding up a Trump sign, and there was a picture of him going around social media, and it said that this person had been captured and is going to be sent back to Venezuela. And it said, I don't feel sorry for this person. Now, if you don't feel sorry for this person, I'm not here to judge. And I hope this doesn't come out as judgmental. And maybe I am judging a little bit. But, from a Christian perspective, I want to think that even that person is created in the image of God. Even that person, I want to fight for that person's existence in the United States. Even if he voted against his own self-interest, I do feel bad for him. If you don't feel bad for him, that's you, and that's fine. But I think that the Christian response is to have some empathy even for that person. Maybe especially for those people who have been duped by the current administration. I want to fight for a world where even that person is accepted and welcomed into my country, the United States. Phelan, if any of you have a PC, you can join me in ARK and build a cabin on a lake and a farm. I have no idea what this is. Find peace where you can. I love it. I don't have a PC, but I love that idea. Maybe I'll try to look at it. Angela, we must learn to really love ourselves before we can accomplish loving others. But we must do both, as we are all the same one. Yeah, I like it. Oh, did I cuss, Phelan? I'm glad that makes you feel better. Whatever you do to the least of these, you do unto me. That's it. Yeah, Jesus says that in Matthew chapter 25, which I just always want to remind us is about the judgment of the nations, national systems. If national systems are created in such a way that they promote the well-being of all people, but especially the least of these, those who are on the margins, the sick, the poor, the hungry, the thirsty, those in prison, then those nations will be judged as doing what God wants them to do. And if they don't do those things, if they don't care for the least of these, then they will go to what Matthew 25 says is eternal punishment. Now, eternal punishment in the Greek, eternal is come from the Greek word which means an age. And the word for punishment here comes from the horticulture, and it means pruning. You will go, better translated as, you will go to an age of pruning, where all of the yucky stuff inside of us that caused us to, and nations to not care for and love our neighbors, as especially those on the margins, will be pruned away. And that's a painful process, but they will be pruned away so that we actually live into loving our neighbors as we love ourselves. This gets reinforced in the book of Revelation. If you missed the book of Revelation series that we did at the church, I invite you to go back into the Pastor Adam Preaches podcast. If you Google Pastor Adam Preaches, you'll be able to find it on my website, adamerickson.org. And I was pretty happy with how the Revelation series ended up. The book of Revelation is a protest movement, first century protest movement against empire, specifically against the Roman Empire, but also against every empire, including the United States, when we're all empirical and stuff. But at the end of that story, there's a new tree in the new heaven and the new earth, and it's for the healing of the nations. It's for the healing of the nations. So what Jesus says, that the nations will be judged and go to an age of pruning, isn't the last word. The last word is that the nations will enter into the new heaven and the new earth, and they will be healed by the new tree that is now for the healing of all people and all nations. Those are the two trees at the beginning and the end of the Bible. And where does the Bible say that we are being led to? The tree of healing. That's where it ends. With you being healed, me being healed, them being healed. And in the meantime, we've got work to do. To live into, as Angela says, the Matthew 25 vision, where all people, but especially the marginalized, are cared for and loved. So thank you for that, Angela. Justin, defunding all of these programs to fund a massive tax break to the wealthy that need it the least. Yep. I struggle to see how that can be justified in the soul. It cannot. I struggle to see how it can be justified, and I don't think it can be. Reserving the right to slap someone doesn't mean you will. Thank you, Cliff. Thank you. Yeah, Justin. Where can you ever lose your soul? Maybe the soul just gets so diminished, and that you have very little soul left. This is C.S. Lewis. Wrote just after World War II, during World War II, talked about forgive the patriarchal language of the 1940s and 50s, men without chests, men without hearts, humans without a heart. Pharaoh's heart gets calloused over and over again with the Hebrews who are enslaved. Don't let your heart be calloused. There are two things that can happen with a broken heart, maybe more, but two things that I'm aware of. The heart can get calloused and burned, right? And this is where we become cynical. The heart can become calloused, and we end up being like Pharaoh, hardened hearts against people. But when your heart is broken, you also have the opportunity for it to heal and to grow even bigger. And I think that's the. I think those are the two primary alternatives that I see. When your heart is broken, may it grow even bigger. And may we be in a community where our hearts can be broken and we can heal with one another so that all of our hearts can grow even bigger than they were before. Thank you, Phelan. Oh, Phelan. Thank you. Angela, Jesus would say, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." That's right. Tony, I don't believe they were duped. They were clear on what would be done if he won the election. I feel sorry for them because they believed they were covered by the blood of the lamb, so to speak. Yeah, you may be right. You may be right there. Yeah. I mean, I keep going back to, I think a lot of them knew. And I don't know, maybe some of them were duped. I don't know. I think you're probably right. I mean, I keep going back to the farmer that was interviewed on CNN who was asked, he's wanting to send away undocumented immigrants, and the farmer was like, no, he would never do that. He knows that our economy depends on undocumented labor. Well, here we are. Yeah, here we are. Price of eggs. Sandra, I don't think that is being holier than thou. Okay, good. Thank you, Sandra. That's hard-heartedness to me. Ignorance is forgiven, but we know better, so we must do better. Amen to that, Sandra, including resisting hardening our hearts. Amen. I love that. I love it. Justin, this nation needs a lot of healing, maybe a forest of trees. That would be good. Mitch, I feel like I'm on the hardened heart path just to cope currently. Well, yeah, Mitch, yeah, I don't want to take that away from you, Mitch. Maybe sometimes our hearts have to be hardened in order to cope, in order to protect ourselves. And if that's where you're at or anybody is at, I'm not going to judge you for that. That may be an important part in the healing process. Even a calloused or hardened heart can be softened later on. So, Mitch, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Thank you for saying that, Mitch. I really appreciate you saying that. Angela, Justin, replying to Justin, to grow a forest, we must plant the seeds. I see us doing that in the generation being raised to be one of love and inclusion. Those seeds are growing now to be the change this world needs. Yeah, that sounds like that's Tony says that sounds like a beautiful prayer. Good. Justin, we'll leave with this. I'll leave with Justin's comment and then just a brief story from an ancient theologian of the 15th and 16th century. I think it's an apocryphal story, but I still like it. So Justin says, I see the seeds everywhere: kindness, compassion, love, beauty. And as the hardness pushes the people together, we will rise from this. Yes, Justin, we will. So I've been having thoughts about Sunday's sermon running around in my head. This may make it in or not. I don't know. But I've been thinking, like, sometimes all of this information in the news gets me thinking apocalyptically. Are we at the end of the world? By the way, apocalypse just means revelation, not end of the world. Apocalypse is a like the book of Revelation again. Go check out the series if I can plug the series. Apocalypse just means revelation or unveiling. Doesn't necessarily mean the end of the world, but apocalypse is unveiling that if you keep acting in this way, the world may end. So act in a different way. Anyway, Martin Luther. I don't quote Martin Luther a lot. I grew up Lutheran, so heard these kinds of stories. Not my favorite theologian of all time, but anyway, he was once asked, if the world would end tomorrow, what would you do? And he said, I'd go plant a tree. And for me, there's like a good defiance in that. I'd go plant a tree. I'd do something to promote life. I'd go plant a tree. You're all talking about planting seeds, planting trees in the comment section. I love it. We need more trees. We need more seeds planted. And the thing that I like about that story, I'd go plant a tree, is that on one level it seems very naive, impractical. Why would you go do that? Well, because you're lighting the light in the darkness. You're saying that I still believe in life. I still believe that this is worth doing. And in doing that, you're pointing to a better world. It's the small things. Don't diminish the small things as you go through your life. Those things matter. All right. I love you all. Thank you for being here. I'm going to go home and rest. Hope that you have a great rest of the day. And we will plan to do this next week. 45 minutes ago, I said I'm done. And here we are, like an hour into this thing. And now I'm saying I'm done. All right. Angela gets the last word. I went to the pet store and spoke with the creatures there and marveled at the lichen on the tree. Yeah, good. Seeking the beauty and the magic in creation that exists despite humanity. I feel silly that I don't know how to say that word. But here we are anyway. All right. Yeah. Be well, everybody. Love you all. And we will do this again next week. Maybe I'll be more prepared, but here we are. Ready or not, prepared or not, this is the world we live in. And may you know that you are loved, and share that love with others. And I'm ending the worship service, and go out there and cause some good trouble. All right, everybody. That's my Sunday end of worship service spiel that you get here on Friday. Here we are. Lichen. Thank you. The lichen. Man. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a great day. See you next week.